Despite what their moms told them, they just aren't talented enough for radio. Unfortunately, anyone can have a show these days. Sean.
Well, I'm pretty hard to figure out sometimes. In fact, I can't even figure myself out sometimes, so don't you try to.
Joe.
You're an idiot and really a disloyal person.
This is the Cuse Militia. Now, those two unapologetically biased, orange-blooded homers, Sean and Joe.
It's the most bullshit thing I've seen in 30 years.
Welcome, orange men and ladies. Happy Tuesday. This is the Cuse Militia with Sean and Joe. For the Believe Entertainment Network, at Cuse Militia on the socials. Go there, join the militia live on X Spaces for the fan feedback segment of each post-game show. We're back to talk about Syracuse at Cal this Saturday at 3, which should be fun. We'll see. But we'll tell you all we know about Cal, which...
Well, I mean, I just thought that for some reason at the beginning of the year, this game was like on a weekday.
Yeah, you mentioned that the other day. You said it was Friday. And I agreed with you, but it's not. It's actually, it's actually Saturday. So, and I believe it's 3 or 3:30.
3.
So, it'll be noon Cal time, West Coast time, left coast time.
Mm-hmm.
And then Syracuse should be able to, it's just like a regular noon game. No big deal. I mean, it's not like it's not like what they had to do in UNLV starting at 9 o'clock at night.
Well, I mean, it's kind of different, right? Because with UNLV, that's technically starting like 6 o'clock your time if you're not used to the time. But it's technically 9 in the morning our time if they don't get adjusted to the time, right? So.
No, it'd be 12.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Right.
Well, it's going to.
Yeah, it's 3 o'clock Eastern time. So the game 3 o'clock Eastern, so it's 12 for them.
Okay, yeah.
It feels like 3, but it's 12 instead of feels like whatever the hell it was 7 at night, but 9 at night.
Yeah, math today. So
yeah. Well, look, it's okay. Did we have math issues recently? I think we did.
No, CW commentators.
Oh, that's right. That's what we were talking about. Like, no, we talked about math here recently. Like, did we screw something up? Yo, you're right. That's right. Yeah. Okay. Well, look, it's not quite Thursday yet, so I'm still waking up from Sunday. A weekend was I was nonstop all weekend. I didn't really get to chill home, and I'm kind of a weekend homebody, so I really like to hang out at home on the weekends unless I'm running my errands and all that. But I kind of went out every night, not out on the town or anything, but to residences.
Social stuff, obligations.
Yeah. And you don't get that little extra couple hours before the Sunday night hits. If you're like me and you work Monday through Friday, that Sunday night hit is real. You know what I'm saying? It's like you just want that to yourself. Be selfish about it and just keep it all to yourself. But
I feel like at some point, like when the sun goes down or you eat dinner on a Sunday night, it starts to set in that you got to go back to work on Monday and you start thinking about it and the stuff you got to do. And I'm right there with you, bud.
Okay. Well, look, you are going to get our predictions. There was we both picked the wrong winner of last week's game, so
we did.
We're gonna cruise into week 10 or week 12, but week 10 for Syracuse as far as games go. With Joe ahead 4-3, and we'll see how these next 3 games shape up. So, with the Cal, with the UConn, with Miami, as it were. So,
yeah.
Okay.
Traditional Big East battle team. Oh, sorry. No, Cal. For some reason is there.
Yeah, Cal's there. And they're just waiting on the West Coast.
Of course.
So, after a pretty good game that they had this past weekend. The all-time series between the Orange and the Golden Bears sits at 1-1. The 67-68 seasons, those were the seasons where this rivalry was born so long ago. Speaking of rivalries, Joe, head coach Justin Wilcox in his 8th year with Cal, he's led them to 3 bowl games over those 8 years, including last year's 34-14 loss to Texas Tech in the Radiance Technologies Independence Bowl after their 6-6 finish in 2023. So, quarterback, sophomore Fernando Mendoza. If you've seen him, you know him. He ain't half bad. He's pivotal for Cal's offense. Completed 218 of 316 pass attempts, 69% completion rate for the year so far, 2,480 yards, averaging 7.8 yards per attempt. 12 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, only 4 interceptions, which is pretty damn good. Mendoza, he's faced some pressure, though. The line giving up 31 sacks so far this year. So he's not the mobile threat that we're used to seeing a lot this year, but he can make you pay if he's got time. And he's pretty accurate with the ball. So he's that pocket precision passing type guy. So pressure. In the rushing department, freshman running back Javian Thomas leads the team with 83 carries with 503 yards, averaging 6.1 yards a carry, 6 touchdowns. He's got a long run this year of 57 yards. The receiving core, dude, is pretty solid. We talk a lot about our receiving core. Their receiving core is pretty solid. Led by Jack Andreas, tight end. 39 receptions, 460 yards, 11.8 yards a catch, 2 touchdowns. And then I think it's Naziah Hunter contributed with 29 catches, 390 yards with an average of 13.4. He leads the team in 5 receiving touchdowns. And Cal kind of has like their two tight ends are just as used and accumulate like very close in yardage to their best 2 wide receivers on paper. So kind of a different dynamic there. So defensively, Cal's shown a lot of resilience, particularly in the pass defense. They've accumulated 17 interceptions so far. So they're ball hawks. Senior cornerback Noel Williams, he accounts for 7 of them. The defense has its successes in generating a consistent pass rush, too. They've recorded 28 sacks so far this year. So, linebacker Xavier Carlton, he leads the team with 9 sacks so far this year. So, I mean, a solid defense for on both sides of that, up front and in the secondary. So, strengths for Cal is going to be Mendoza, 69% passing completion. And, you know, he can spread. He's got the ability to spread the ball around because he's got the guys. So the one thing that stuck out to me, though, was the knack for this defense in creating turnovers. We talked about the interceptions, but a huge advantage for the Golden Bears. So far this year, they're ranked 2nd in the nation in turnover margin with a plus 16. So to that end, though, the offensive line, we kind of talked about that. They've allowed 31 sacks. Obviously, that can be super disruptive to an offense. And to put that into perspective, you know, we talk about our offensive line quite a bit. Syracuse only allowed 22 sacks so far this year. So, and 2 of those were with Michael Johnson Jr. So, McCord's only been sacked 20 times this year. All right. The inconsistent run game. Thomas is your bell cow when it comes to that and the Russian attack. It partly due, I guess that they've had some injuries. This Jaden Oat, I believe it's Oat. He did carry the ball 14 times against Wake Forest, but they kind of have their guy as far as the rushing game goes. Really, really where they can hurt you pretty bad is in the passing game.
Yeah, in that instance, Jaden Ott, he's had issues with injuries. He was coming in. He had a great year last year. I mean, off the top of my head, can I say how many rushing yards he had if you want to take care of that right now? But he was the guy coming in. There's people talking about him being future NFL, Heisman, that kind of stuff. And
1305.
Yeah, so he was the guy last year for them. And now in him battling with injuries and with the emergence of Mendoza in his second year, throwing the ball, they've thrown as much as they've ran, or actually more than they've ran, and 70 of those rushes are Mendoza running. So it's going to be a tough situation. You look at the stats and everything, and you wonder how they're actually only 5-4. You look at their schedule, which I like to always break down. You look at their wins. There's really not a lot of great. I mean, they went to Auburn and won the second game of the season, looked good. We talked about that. But then, Florida State was going on their downfall, and they went to Florida State and they lost 14-9. I'm sure there was plenty of plays in that game where California could have took that, but realistically, when you look at their losses, they lost 4 in a row, and they lose by games. by 5 at Florida State. They lose at home to Miami by 1 point. They go to Pitt and lose 17-15, only by 2 points, and then they lost a home game to NC State by 1 point, 24-23. So these guys, they're a touchdown away in 3 different games. Actually, a field goal away in 3 different games to being an 8-1 team. And after they lost to NC State, they handled Oregon State, and then they went to Wake Forest and they won by 10, 46-36. So listening to their coach's presser, I think they're a little banged up in some areas and on the defense, but I don't believe it's secondary. So like you said, they are ball hawks. But also, too, when you look at the amount of points they gave up, only giving up 24 to NC State, 17 to Pitt, 14 to Florida State, and then in their wins the first 3 games, it was 13, 14, 10. They've held a lot of teams to under 20 points. Only 3 teams have scored over 20 points on them this year. Actually, 3 teams have scored over 24 points on them this year. So they're tougher than what their record says to me, and also obviously they're also multifaceted. I think they run the RPO with Mendoza and the running backs, and they throw a lot out of it. Mendoza runs a lot out of it, and it's a dangerous offense. And they don't turn the ball over a lot, like you said. They win the turnover margin, so that's all good stuff. Now, taking advantage of their offensive weakness as far as their line, we definitely have to do, and that's where I kind of get nervous, right? Like, what did we do this week in practice? Did we sit here and look at what BC did to us, and then we just worry about that? Because I don't see California as a team that's just going to show up and then just, we need to only do this to be able to beat them. They might resort to that if it got to a certain point, but they're going to throw the ball. Mendoza's going to run. We've seen teams like this, and I think that their offense actually falls in a little bit better as far as a matchup for our defense. If Mendoza's going to throw, if he's going to run, how many running quarterbacks have we seen this year, right? And our strength is the secondary. So if he's going to throw, that's better than if they had, and again, maybe they don't have the personnel to line up and just run it down our throats like Boston College did. So weird enough, it's they have a more balanced offense, but it actually, because they're more balanced, it might be a better matchup for our defense, if that makes sense.
Well, their strengths match up against our strengths. They're not going to be a team that's going to just run the ball down your throat like Pitt and Boston College did.
Yeah.
So, I'll get into some of the rest of. I left a little on the table for my prediction, but I think the matchup here is much better than Pitt. And I'm not even going to say Boston College, dude. I don't think that was a bad matchup. I think we got out-coached. I mean, Fran Brown said as much. Do what?
I think that was a bad matchup.
You do?
Yeah.
I don't. I mean, I guess I could sit here and say I don't and look stupid, but they got out-coached, dude. I mean, you know what's coming every time. Stop the damn run.
If you don't have the personnel to do it, though, because that's
then how are we going to say that we've got it fixed if you haven't figured it out? Coach talked about he didn't know that was going to happen going into the game. I mean, look, I'm sure he did, but I listened to the press conference. I'm just pulling out of the press conference what I heard from the press conference, which was we weren't prepared for that. I think was exactly what he said, and
we took accountability.
Right, absolutely. He did that in postgame. But we weren't prepared for that. So now we've looked at tape and we know what we need to do. So
right.
I'm going to trust what he's saying is the truth. And just for me, I don't think it was a terrible matchup. I just think he said himself he was outcoached. They just ram the ball down our throat, and it's a problem. I'm not saying it's a great matchup. I'm saying this is a better one.
Yeah, but not every team can do that against us. That's the thing. And this Cal offense it's not built to do that.
No, it's not. And you can't just Cal can't take what they got from Pitt and Boston College and apply it. I don't think it works that way. But
yeah, I mean, it might a little bit, but
I mean you're exposing a weakness. So I mean, anytime you expose a weakness, if you don't plug a hole, it's gonna take on water. Does
Cal's offensive line have the ability to do that, right? Like, that's really the big question.
Yeah, I mean,
Cal's better in every game. Like I said, their worst loss is at Florida State by 5.
Well, all of their games, like you said, I mean, all their games were they have a hard time pulling off close games. So if Syracuse keeps this thing close, that's advantage Syracuse. Their wins, except for Auburn, they're blowing them out.
Yep, pretty much. 21
to San Diego State. I would go down this road. 17 or something like that to not
18.
17, 18 to UC Davis, right? 37 over Oregon State and 10 over Wake Forest.
Yeah.
And the Wake Forest game score really didn't tell the tale of that game. I mean, I'll watch that game, and I mean, that was Cal from the get, really.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that was at Wake Forest. So they can travel too. They're resilient like that, I guess. But we've been proven we could travel as well. So,
true.
All right. Let's get into some Twitter, and I'm going to burn Facebook to the ground. That's not a threat. Just so you know. I'm just saying this is not a threat.
Yes.
I realized what I was saying when I said it.
Very much like explain this, dude. It's like our name is Cuse Militia. You're going to say I'm going to burn Facebook to the ground.
I'm going to metaphorically burn Facebook to the ground.
There we go.
Right now. It's on fire. It's burning. Joe's going to get the last 5 comments out of that piece of crap, dumpster fire, and then we're going to move on from it, I think.
Oh, the best part about it is this is one of the only 2 people that...
Oh, Andy.
Dom and Andy.
Oh. Well, we can't lose Andy, but I would really enjoy if Andy moved over to Twitter. I'm not getting rid of Facebook, but the 5 of you that get into there and see our posts, we'll make a special exception for you, I guess. See, the thing is I'm not on there, and so the only time I post, or the only time I'm on there is when I post, and then you go on under the same account and read the comments. Those are the only times we go on there. I go on there.
Facts.
All right, let's get this thing started. At Cuse Mode Jimbo, Syracuse 31, Cal 27. Don't overlook this team. They may have lost their first 4 ACC games, but only by a combined total of 8 points. He just listened to Joe. At Jason Lindy, as long as we win, I don't care. 34-28. I'm assuming that's a Cuse win. At Oil Cuse, the only thing nastier than a road trip to the West Coast is an image of Joe eating ketchup-covered hot dog. Unfortunately, we don't win this one. 34-24. But predict we go on to win the UConn and Miami games to finish 8-4 still.
Wow.
Would you sacrifice a Cal loss for a guaranteed UConn Miami win?
I mean, I think we could pull all of them out, but
I mean, honestly,
maybe.
If I'm being serious, I don't know if we can beat Miami. That's just me being honest.
We don't know.
I mean, I can judge by what I've seen this year.
Show yet?
Do what?
I said we haven't done the show yet. And also, too, I don't put ketchup on my hot dogs.
I don't know. Patrick says you do.
I mean, I get it, but I've never met this dude, and it's been so long since I've put a ketchup on my hot dog. Like kid.
What? 5 minutes? 10 minutes?
No, not 5 minutes.
Week?
Like, you know how the young kids, like, they don't like the mustard and like all the vinegar and the barbecue.
Joe, you haven't met any of these people. But they love you.
Do they? Or do they think I'm nasty AF and I put ketchup on my hot?
Both, yes. Look.
Yeah, okay, well, Cuse, you're right. Yep. yesterday for Veterans Day, I got my American flag and I grilled a hot dog and put ketchup on it.
That's what I
Get
thought.
happy now?
That's what I thought. I mean, we all were thinking that you did that. And Patrick knows. Patrick knows.
Okay.
I mean, it's right here. It's on Twitter. Duh. It's got to be true.
By the way,
Oh,
I wanted to throw out there, appreciate Fran Brown's words about Veterans Day. So,
yes.
it was nice.
Yes, happy Veterans Day to, yes, belated, which we probably should have mentioned on Sunday since it was the day before. Yes, I have a lot of veterans at work, believe it or not. Good ones.
Yep. Yeah, us too.
At the Cuse. Cuse doesn't win this one. Cal 35-21. Teams are very much the same. However, Cal gets pressure on Kyle, and SU won't be able to pressure Mendoza. If they do, he will beat them with his feet. What do you think about that? I agreed with everything until he said SU won't be able to get pressure. Here's the thing about Syracuse is that they just don't pressure. It's very rare we've seen a ton of pressure coming from Syracuse.
And the whole thing with that is, I think a lot of that to me is being able to. We played against a lot of running quarterbacks, and if you notice, we're pretty good at keeping a spy out there. At the end of the day, you chance sending that extra rusher, taking a bad angle, and allowing a running quarterback, to get out of the pocket and get free reign to run. Or you don't send that extra guy, and he basically shadows him. So if he decides to run around, then there's somebody there on him. I mean, that's kind of where I'm at, and I think that we've played that pretty well this year. No, I mean, Haynes King just went in and beat Miami, and we held him pretty good, and there's more.
Yeah, even a blind squirrel finds a nut now and then.
I mean, Mendoza's going to do some damage. He's going to be able to get his yards here and there, but I think that, I mean, I get it. I get how Syracuse is frustrated, especially when you sit there and you watch other teams pressure and do some exotic things, and you have these coaching staffs that have had systems and defensive coordinators and coaches and I mean, especially Narduzzi's staff, forever, right? So you got to give that time. And I feel like, yes, sometimes I agree that it seems like we're just playing it safe. But we don't know what we don't see. And, if we send all those people, who knows if we're putting other people in bad situations, and it's most likely the better situation for us, especially when you play so many running quarterbacks. You got that spy out there, bro. You just have to.
I get it, but Mendoza's really not that guy.
What do you mean?
He's not really a running quarterback guy.
He can run.
He can, but it's not really his forte. So you think you put a spy out on Mendoza the whole time? You got to expose their vulnerabilities, and their vulnerabilities is pass protection. One of their vulnerabilities.
Well, yeah.
You gotta, look, I'm no freaking coach. I'm not trying to be one. I'm just saying. You have to expose
stuff that you haven't shown. And I think that's one place where we can actually make opponents vulnerable. If you look at our tape throughout the year, it just looks like we play it safe. If you're to come out and do some things that you've never seen before, as far as blitzes and certain things like that, and send certain pressures, then that could definitely mess with California. I mean, it might be a positive that we could do. I'd like to see a change. Like you said, we're not defensive coordinator or defensive coaches, but I mean, when you see that kind of stuff, you just wonder, what's going on? Why are we doing that?
I realize this includes sacks and all the rest, right? But 70 carries for 71 yards. Along as 26. 2 rushing touchdowns is Mendoza for the year. It doesn't.
Yeah, but
it doesn't.
But you said,
huh?
But you said 31 sacks, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's
okay.
That's my point. That's my point. You have to put pressure on him. You have to put pressure on him. You can't just look at a guy and be like, Well, he's got a bum leg. I'm not going to go after the leg, though. Like, yeah, you go after the leg. He's got a bum leg. Go after it. Expose it. I mean, at least that should be your game plan. You should always have a plan B. I mean, you got, that's going in. That should be your game plan. If you get burned, if all of a sudden he turns into, I don't know, name that quarterback. Haynes King or whatever the hell his name is. He turns into a Cam Ward or whatever. Then okay, well you have to adjust. But it's not showing me here, looking at this on paper, that I should be shaking in my boots about him getting too frisky in the run game.
First off, one thing is you got to look at it like if he's getting sacked and he's losing an average of 5 yards a sack or 4 yards. You're talking about 100 plus yards he's losing, but nonetheless, I think what his talent is being able to extend the play. I don't think he runs a lot, but he uses his feet to get out of the pocket, extend the play, and I think that's what helps him with his percentage.
I mean, I would agree with that. By the way, he had a lot of time during Wake Forest, and he could be elusive, sure. Like I said, I'm not a coach. I'm looking at this by sitting at a bar and drinking a beer and going, this is what I would do if I was a coach right now. And that's what I would do. Let's see. Let's continue here. At Multifamily Mad. Don't know. Don't know if I want to know. Fran Brown won't be taking a shower after this game. If you listen to the presser, you understand that one. He does not shower after a loss, folks. So, he feels like this is not going to be a W. So, at dbone75, I believe Fran will have this team ready. The team and coaches don't really want the narrative of reliving the teams from the Dino era. Cuse 34, Cal 27. Okay, it turns well, unless we break the cycle, it doesn't just become the Dino era; it becomes the Syracuse era. The Syracuse that time of year, we call it.
Oh, 100%. And that's the thing, too, with the situation we're in now. You're talking about breaking that whole – knock on wood, I think that we should be able to beat UConn, obviously, coming into the season. One of the reasons why you wish you'd play them a little bit early. But, they've been given a chance to win games and become confident. But, we win this game, then it kind of guarantees that we're not going to at least, lose 2 games in a row. You know what I mean? I feel like that's kind of a big thing is getting in that spiral. That's something that happened during the Dino Babers era is, you lose 1, okay, let's bounce back. Okay, you lose 2, okay, 3, now we're spiraling, right? That's kind of what we remember. We beat this Cal team and we go on and we beat UConn. Then, I'm not going to count if we were to lose to Miami and then a month later lose in a bowl game. But as far as just regular season, you kind of want to stay away from that multiple losing game streak,
Yeah, which brings me to this one. At R. Prosner, bounce back, similar to Virginia Tech game. Underdogs pull out a close one, 31-24. Hope Fran's able to make changes and get his team firing in the first quarter. Yeah, that's a huge point because we've had a problem with slow starts in these losses, and this can't be a slow start, and especially when you're playing on the road.
So say that again.
The
comment.
The comment.
Yeah.
It was. Let me scroll back up. Sorry.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. Bounce back. Similar to Virginia Tech game, underdogs pull out a close one, 31-24. Hope Fran's able to make changes and get his team firing in the first quarter.
Yep. That was the whole thing. Underdogs. This game opened up, I think, as a Cal 8.5-point favorite. And now it's gotten down to 7, so the bettors have been taking Syracuse. And, just you sit here and you imagine, and I know that, Fran Brown, he talked about this, just 2 plays and we're 8-1, right? But imagine the positions that you'd put yourself in as a team if you could, play the way you do in the other quarters in the first quarter or the first half. You give all 4 quarters. We just last couple games, 2-3 games. We've been just putting ourselves behind the 8 ball. Letting teams score early in the first quarter and not doing anything on offense. So that's another thing that needs to be fixed. Obviously, we know that. We talked about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's that time of year, though, where the fixing should be getting...
It's tough.
I understand that.
Because you have injuries, everything's moving, it's not like you have a practice squad in the NFL that you can just, pull somebody up or...
Well, I mean, I give them benefit.
Trade somebody, right? I mean, you just have the depth on your team. So when, I know they say next man up, but sometimes the next man up necessarily isn't ready for it or... You know how that goes. So you see certain things and you say fixing it, but you never really know what's going on behind closed doors with all the injuries and personal matters. So sometimes it's tough.
At Cuse Dub 35-27 in Cal covers. I'm hoping I'm wrong. Defense has been a major concern. So
we'll definitely see.
At StenJC47 34-14. Finally have a dominant game on both sides of the ball and things click. Go Cuse. Okay, well, I like that optimism.
I do. I don't like that spread.
What do you have?
I have 2 readables. I mean, I'll point out there, my brother Alex, he reached out. He basically just put a score. He didn't put anything in there, but he put Syracuse 34, Cal 27. Just wanted to throw it out there because I think that there's already been 2 that you've read where it was Syracuse 34, Cal 27. But really it's just Dom and Andy. So top fan Dom.
Dom's top fan status on Facebook.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then he doesn't even say Facebook stuff. So maybe
he must love it. That's why.
Maybe he's turning the corner.
Yeah.
Don't troll him.
No, he loves it. It's fine. I'm not offended by it at all. I'm just saying.
Stop sarcasm.
Did he share it? Did he share it? Did he share the comment?
What do you mean?
Did anybody? Can't you share it?
What?
Can't you share it? Like a retweet? You share it on Facebook? You share it.
I don't.
Did anybody share anything? See, this is the problem. This is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. Thanks, Dom.
I don't even know what you're talking. God.
No one shares anything anymore. Everybody's so damn selfish. Okay, go.
I get it. I get where you're going with that. Okay. Top Tom. Long travel won't bother the Oranges. They get out to a fast 17-3 lead, but the O-line and tackling issues creep back to make it close in the end. Syracuse 34, Cal 30.
Interesting.
Yep.
That's a typical Facebook guy comment, I think.
Stop it, dude. Will you stop it? It's actually not that bad of a comment. Come on.
How about that?
Although getting out fast to a 17-3 lead isn't something that we've done.
If we get out to 17, we did. Where was it? Where did we jump out to a lead? Was it NC State when they caught back up to us and we thought we were going to blow it? Was it NC State? Was it NC State or UNLV?
I think it was NC State. I mean, UNLV, we went into overtime. NC State, we had them handled, and then they ended up scoring, and it came down to an onside kick or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was NC State, and the only other one, top fan Andy. Says 2 very similar teams in the fact they both seem to struggle playing a complete game. Luckily for Syracuse, Cal's run game isn't that impressive, 108th to be exact. Overall, I think Syracuse is the better team here. This will be a shootout, 41-38 Syracuse.
Holy cow. What is the over-under?
Over-under of this game is 55.5.
Yeah. I think
talking about a
right.
30-20 game, something like that.
Yeah, I think that's about right. If I had to guess.
It's going to go over.
Do what?
Do you think it's going to go over?
Well, I mean, I'll tell you right now that.
Sorry.
Do what?
Let me just. I'm going to reverse what I said before. Syracuse Cal opened as a 7-point underdog, and it has now gone to Cal minus 8.5. So Syracuse is a 8.5 underdog. So actually, the people are voting Cal, not Syracuse. So it's an 8.5 point spread right now, and over under is 55.5.
Okay.
So if you had to bet that, what are you doing?
I go under only because my score says to.
Okay. What about the spread?
You said it's a what? 50 what?
55.5.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm under that.
Okay. What about the spread? Syracuse plus 8.5 or Cal minus 8.5?
I don't have Cal covering.
Okay.
So, I mean, for what it's worth, I'm not really a betting man though. I suck at that. I've had like $60 in my FanDuel account for 2 years. I haven't touched it. Our
Really?
DraftKings are one of them. I don't even know which one it is. I have no idea.
You better figure it out. Maybe I can help you, but if not, you wait too long, the government's going to get that money.
I mean, they're going to get it one way or another anyway. So it doesn't really matter. Yeah, don't even get me started on that. Don't get me started on that one. This is my least favorite subject.
I know. No, I don't know if it's your least favorite subject. It might be your least favorite thing that you like, but talking about it, you like talking about it.
Well,
You got to,
somewhat
though,
true.
right?
Yeah. Helps ease the pain.
Yeah.
At Mike Kalitz? I don't know.
Perfect.
Something like that. 77. 41-28 Cal. Solid run offense. QB can sling it. Our defense will struggle. Kyle will throw for 300 plus, but we will only have about 50 yards rushing. Well, I'll tell you what. That's a high score. But what he says here is truth. Also, there was a couple of them that I think I read and you read that said the teams are very similar. They are. They are similar on offense, really.
Yeah.
Kind of on defense, but more so offense. But they are they are similar.
But and that was a good point that Andy brought up, is talking about they both seem to struggle to playing a complete game.
Yeah.
So that's what keeps them in these games, or that's why they lose or win these games.
So that brings us to this, Joe. You still got control of the ball, I think, because you won, and you know we've had some bad picks. We had a win, and then we had another bad pick. So you still control this thing. Let me see if there's anything else on here. At Orange Man, I hate to say this, but so you're gonna say it anyway.
Yep.
Cal by 10 points. I hope I'm wrong, and everyone dogpile on me for this prediction. 34-24. At Acoustic Lust. Who cares? Team is greatly underperforming and wasting the talent of McCord. You know what? I usually like every comment I read, but I'm not liking that one. I'm not gonna.
I don't. It was the same thing last. I mean, I think the post game we had a similar comment about wasting the talent of Kyle McCord. Like, what would this team be without Kyle McCord right now? I mean, we spoke about it before. Like, you might have went and got somebody different.
You wouldn't have beat NC State. You wouldn't have beat UNLV. Where would that put us? 4-5?
Yeah, might be more, dude.
I don't know about that. I just don't think we pull those games off. Those are the games we don't pull off last year. Those are the games we don't pull off. Who's our quarterback if it's not McCord? Is it?
No, I mean, we would probably have got somebody else in the transfer portal,
but I mean, now we're playing like that's too much. That's too much to speculate about. The point is that I think we're 4-5 if we don't have Kyle McCord. So, you know, Joe's right. It could be worse. Do I have anything else here? I don't really. And who cares? I care. Martin, I care, buddy. Okay, so let's just go with this. You control your destiny. What do you want to do? You're awfully quiet. Okay, fine. All right, look. Like I said, Syracuse, this is what they have to do. You ready here, Coach Sean? Go after it. I'm just kidding.
Yep.
This is just from just what I've already read. These are the points I gather out of it. Okay, they got to exploit the pass protection issues that they have. I think you have to do it. I mean, you've already got a bowl game. What else are we playing for? We're playing for wins, right? It's like when you get into, like, let's use NASCAR as an example, the dying sport of NASCAR. When you get into the playoffs, everything's about just getting a win. You throw everything you can at it. You take chances to just go out and grab a trophy, right? You already got into the playoffs. We already know that Syracuse, what is the difference between each one of these bowl games if it's not in the playoffs at this point, right? And that's how I look at it anyway. So they have to throw everything they can at this. They've already got a bowl game. We're talking about wins right now. We're talking about wins. I'm not saying trash the thing if it doesn't work. I'm saying this is how I think they should come out, which was my point earlier. Establishing the run game, they have to try to do this. I just fear that it's going to be extremely difficult. They have Cal has the 11th best run defense in the nation. They only allow about 100 yards a game. Syracuse is going to have to overcome that somehow, some way, to pull this win out, especially not away on the road. Yes, that's what I was looking for, on the road. I think it's going to be extremely hard, but if they can establish it, if they can punch these guys in the mouth early and establish the run, it's going to be pivotal. Also, Cal's plus 16 in the turnover margin. We just saw LaQuinn Allen lose his first ball of the season last week.
I feel like I jinxed him.
I think you did too, as we talked about it. We have to protect the ball. Kyle McCord's got to be smart. We got to protect the ball. I'm worried about fumbles. I'm extremely worried about interceptions. Got to protect the ball. If they could do those three things, they can win this game. But they have to do them. They have to do them well. And so, after a 4-game losing streak California had, and then they beat Oregon State and Wake Forest. Yeah, so it's time for them to lose as well. So, they're playing for their bowl game. This game is either a go bowling or don't go bowling game. Now they got Stanford after us, who is 2-7. One of those wins is against us, so that sucks. But that's typical. I think we're used to that. The other win was Cal Poly, for crying out loud. So, this is not a make or break, but it's, they want this game. They want to solidify a bowl game. They've got a little bit more to play for than us. They're at home. They have the tools to make this tough for Syracuse. I am just going to go ahead. This is like the betting against yourself thing that we've talked about plenty of times.
Right.
So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to bet against Syracuse this time. I'm going to do it and hope I regret it.
I knew it.
28-24, Cal.
Okay.
And I'm at 52, so I'm at the under.
That's why you're at the under. Okay.
I hate doing that. I really do. And you know what? There's nothing more satisfying, though, than... There's really, some of us have gotten the score exactly right twice in our 8-year career of doing this. And that someone's me. And that's extremely satisfying in the fact that I get to boast about it and act like I'm a professional at this. But it's also extremely satisfying to guess against your team and have them win. Because who cares? I'd rather get the win. Much happier to get the win. Prove me wrong. Go ahead.
I mean, look, Joe P will definitely attest to that.
Yeah, he loves that train of thought. So do I. I think it's great.
All right, well, I can't get on that train, but...
I knew you wouldn't be able to.
Yeah, I can't. I'm close. Getting closer, because I do believe that this Cal team is better than their record. But when I sit here and I look at their schedule... You take away Cam Ward from Miami. I mean, Bachmeier for Wake Forest put up 36. and they had like 3 or 4 turnovers still. I think that's why Andy thinks it's going to be kind of a,
like a barn burner.
Yeah. So, and I kind of feel the same way, and it's more or less the same thing. Like just having the faith that our pass rush can be a little bit better. And like I said, we talked about earlier, I think that their offense kind of plays to our defense pretty well. I think that this is like, especially, I mean, I played secondary, right? And I can say that the games where you play against teams that only run are so boring. And it's so you just look forward to playing against teams that just pass it around. And when you look at it, California kind of stopped a lot of the teams that need to like run first to start, right? Like Pittsburgh and those guys didn't score a lot of points, but like with Wake Forest, who has a passing game, and Miami has a play, those are the 2 best passing games that they played against, and those teams put up points. So I'm going to have confidence in the things that I've seen with Kyle McCord. As long as he cannot turn the ball over, then I'd like to think that this is one of the better quarterbacks that they've seen. And I'm going to go, I know it's for bowl eligibility too, but they're going to get it anyway against Stanford.
Cal Poly. Golly, day, what the fuck? Pardon my language.
Who plays Cal Poly? What are you talking about?
Stephen Stanford. They played Cal Poly. That's their only other win, bro.
Again, I know.
Okay, I know. Syracuse and Cal Poly.
It's crazy, isn't it? Like, I kind of had a little rant today, my little watering hole I stopped on the way home to, and it's like, I'm sitting here at the NC State game, and I'm like, how the fuck did we lose to Stanford?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd like to throw this Stanford game and put it behind me as much as everybody else. I know it keeps coming up, and like we lost against Pitt, and I'm like, well, forget the Stanford game. It doesn't matter now.
Pitt lost to Virginia. It's the same thing. Like, how did we?
I don't know.
And then Boston College, but we beat Virginia Tech and Georgia Tech in UNLV. It's just, there's no rhyme or reason other than just matchups, right? And who's healthy and who's not. And again, our defensive line kind of took a turn or whatever. But again, with faith, I'm not going to sit here and just all night. But I'm going to go Syracuse 31-30.
31-30. All right. They did wax Cal Poly, though, 41-7 for what it's worth.
Dude, it's a D1 AA school.
I'm just playing.
Well, they beat them better than California beat UC Davis, so.
My goodness. They should be 1-8 right now.
No, I know. And that's why Fran brought it up in his damn presser. We're 2 plays away, right?
Yeah, that 4th and 9 turned out to be, that was the one, I mean, look, I'm not saying I'm right or this or that. I'm not patting myself on the back, but that play right there that scarred me. Watching that. I couldn't believe it when it happened. That was the play. Fran Brown mentioned specifically the 4th and 9 today.
No, he said 4th and 9 and 4th and 1, which is the one against Boston College where
there was obvious issues.
Guy wide open, right?
Yeah.
The thing is if you stop that, then you go down, you kick a field goal, you win. Right? It's just.
I mean, if you do go down and kick a field goal, you stop them on 4th and 9, that's a W.
Well, we did go down and kick a field goal. Oh, yeah. But with Boston College, we did go down and kick a field goal.
Okay, true that.
So.
That's right. That's right.
So that's, I think, what he's alluding to. It's just more or less.
I mean, I like talking.
Everything's perspective.
I like talking about those things, but I don't like using them as an excuse or a reason.
It's more a reason, but again, that's why I like to go through. When you look at California, 5-4, when you sit here and look, I'm not a California fan. I didn't watch every game and see how it went, but when you see how close these games are, you're like, well, yeah, they could have won those games. So these guys could have been way better as far as their schedule, as far as their record right now. Sorry. And even the ACC is all over the place. We're sitting here talking about this and how did this team beat that and this. We already have 8 teams that are bowl eligible, with another 6 teams that have 5 wins already. And then you have Florida State that's 1-9, Stanford's 2-7, and then Wake Forest is 4-5. So you're talking about a possibility of having, 14 out of 17 teams going to a bowl game. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. I'll give you that. But look, Syracuse plays Colgate in like 3 minutes.
Yeah.
So I guess that's it.
That's gonna be it.
That's gonna be that's gonna be it for us. Look, we appreciate all of you coming and joining the mediocrity of the Cuse Militia podcast. We will not be back after the basketball game. However, we will see you at our normal same bad time, same bad channel on Sunday. For Joe, I'm Sean. We're out.
Peace.